Mrs. Kerr is a very common occurrence in our household these days. Mrs. Kerr is Owen's idol, to say the least, and he learns everything from her. So, a couple things. And Mrs. Kerr held a parent evening a couple of weeks back. Obviously, I said some nice things because she asked if I would speak in front of you tonight, so I maybe should have kept my mouth shut and been standing. But anyways, quick introduction. Mike Verhoef and my wife Selena, and Owen is 4, just turned 4 in August, so this is his first year at a Montessori school, so it would have been JK. We reside just outside of Ben Miller, actually just north of Ben Miller. So to put that in perspective, we're a kilometer down the road from Colburn Public School. Okay, so born and raised in Huron County. Never knew what Montessori meant, never even heard of it. For Owen's sake, I've never won a conversation with my wife yet, and that's why he's here today going to Montessori school. So I took the typical man approach, and why would we do that, right? You mean I'm going to spend money to send him to a school in Blyth that we've got to drive 20 minutes to, and we've got a school down the street, right? So entertained it, as I've very well learned. I should always entertain what my wife would like me to learn about. So entertained the conversation, went further, looked into Montessori a little bit more, found more about it, and a couple things happened that cinched the deal. One, we were at friends' place this summer, and we met friends of theirs. We never met them before. Find out that he's a school teacher in the Catholic board system, she's a school teacher in the public board system, and Montessori came up, and they sent both of their kids to Montessori school for JK and SK. So they didn't know that we were thinking of sending Owen to Montessori, so I naturally started asking some questions, and they said for them it was as much about the cost of going to daycare was pretty much the same, so there's no difference there. But they found, they knew the lady that ran the school well, and they knew that if they could give their students or their children a very good start, a very solid start in the learning process for them developing how to learn, it would make a lot of difference, they felt, once they got into the older ages of elementary school. I thought that was pretty interesting coming from 2 teachers, obviously. Second of all, it was the invite to the end of the year ceremony, I guess it was, is that what you would call it, right?
Yeah,
so since Owen was going to be coming in September, we were invited to come watch or attend Mrs. Kerr's year finale or whatever you want to call it. And basically we got to see the kids read, show their art, do some little skits. And for me, there's a couple things that sold it there. One was the fact of the surrounding, how comfortable the kids were with each other. It was a small group. A couple of them were helping the others do things. A couple of them were even, not egging, but very cautiously asking them to come up and participate. And if they didn't participate, that was fine too. Some of the kids, a couple in particular, the way they could read was absolutely phenomenal. What they were reading, how they were reading books. So, okay, this is a good thing. We'll do it. So another scenario, so we make the decision, and I talked to my brother. I said, oh yeah, we're sending Owen to Montessori school. Why the H would you be doing that? That's a private school, right? So a couple things. One, I want to bring to the fact that there's probably a little misconception what Montessori school is or what it is about. And if you have that feeling, I would strongly recommend you to talk to Ange one-on-one, maybe even get a chance to come see the facility if you haven't seen the facility. Or better yet, make sure you attend the year finale this year for our kids to produce. And I wrote down a couple points to make sure I stayed on time for all your sake and not mine. Personally, I was bored when I was a kid in school. No stimulation at all. And there's a chance Owen could be like me, because he is my son, he could have my genes. So I figured if there was a way, that he has a really good start in school to find it interesting and challenging and fun, that's going to be a pretty good start. I'm going to be turning 40 in January. I spent half of my life in school. I remember that, right? You're starting your kid off for half his life until he's 40, or a good part of his life in school. So if he gets a very good start to the learning process, back to what Mrs. Kerr was referring to about even the stimulation part of the brain and the nerves, And that was the first I heard of that today, but it makes total sense. Total sense. You can't put a cost on that. You really can't to give your child the best start possible. So a couple things that I've noticed and pointed out. Here's an interesting one. How many who here remembers when you were a kid being asked by your parents, what did you learn at school today? The last thing you wanted to hear and the last thing you wanted to answer. So of course, typical dad, hey Owen, what did you learn at school today? Nothing, Dad, I can't remember. So I did this for 2 weeks and finally, okay, I'm doing this wrong, thumbs up. Hey Owen, what did you and Mrs. Kerr and your classmates make for lunch? Oh, Daddy, I got to help Mrs. Kerr do this, and I got to help Mrs. Kerr do that, and we had that, and so did this, and then we helped clean up, and he helped me, and I dropped the dish on the floor, but he picked it up for me, like that. Okay. Better yet, did you make anything at school today? And he just goes on. And it'll turn into, oh yeah, we made this, and we did this, and oh, we learned about this, and did you know that this is this? And you know, there's lots of scenarios to what Patricia was talking about. You wrote down some specifics down, I didn't, but it's phenomenal what they come up with. One of the questions I asked my wife tonight before I came, I said, you know, what should I say? And she goes, this one's on you. She goes, you walked into this one. So I said to her, well, the one thing I am challenged with right now in speaking to everybody tonight was, okay, if Owen would have went to JK, to Colburn, for example, public school down the road, you know, would he be coming home doing the same thing or not, right? And the one difference I'm noticing is, and this is a big difference, 22 kids in that class, right? There's 6 in his class, right? The coolest part is when we bring Owen to school in the morning, I look forward to seeing the other kids, right? Because you get to know them, right? Because they're part of the class. Not only that, the difference that Owen has made in the 3 months of how he approaches today, he helped one of them take off his boots. Now, the one didn't want that. So he said, no, I don't need your help. And then, but he said, thanks for your help anyways, right? And no one was totally cool with him. So it's some pretty interesting. So, you know, I firmly believe that the fact that he can learn on his own and is learning on his own is taking interest in the things that he is being taught, and that Mrs. Kerr then ends up just leading him down a different path about something he already wants to learn about, to throw in numbers, to throw in words, to throw in vowels, to throw in sounds. That's where it comes from. And if I can't recall anything in my life that I was taught, but I can recall everything that I learned by myself. From that little